So today I saw a post about the weight throw. It's about that time of the year where weight season's starting up and shot put is also thrown indoor as well. Wish there were some indoor disc tosses that went on, but it doesn't happen for the most. A little bit here. They had it in the Diamond League. I don't know if they have it in the Diamond League anymore. But anyways, it's weight season time, and I didn't have much success for with the weight, and I'll be 100% transparent with that. I also didn't have much success with the hammer, technically speaking, but I mean, so let me antithesize, or let me put my thoughts in front of that fact. And I just wonder, because I've seen a lot of athletes, and not females and males alike. I've seen two-turn huck and chuck heroes, and over I've seen a lot of people over 18 meters, sometimes over 20 meters, with no technique, no form, no nothing that's going on there is going to possibly translate to the hammer, is what I think about. And so I ask myself the question sometimes. I'm like, what's the point of throwing the weight? I mean, and when you think about 18, anywhere between 18 and 20 meters with no technique, just a huck and chuck and just a muscle. Well, when you're talking about the D2 and even some D1 conferences, well, that's gonna place you in the top eight, with the D2s, probably the top three a lot of the time. So you want, if you have a big girl or a big athlete or whatever with long levers and whatever, or that can do that consistently, well, you put them out there and you let them throw, and you get points for the team, obviously. But from a more analytical standpoint, a more just realistic standpoint, I have beat my head up against the wall of whether it correlates to a hammer throw, right? And a two turn, no. I think that when you get to a three turn, if it's getting between that distance that we're talking about, that 18 to that 20 or whatever, if it's going over, I'll say, let's be clear and concise about it. If it's going over the 60 feet mark, well, with a three turn, I think that that's somewhat translatable. If we watch some of the guys, like D Haw and Wrinkler and some of those guys that are high level weight throwers or what have you, that does translate. And why it translate is because they are doing something very, very similar to what they would do in the discus ring. They're doing three or four turns when they're doing this. Now, everything in the weight, because it's heavier and because there's less distance in between the wire, it happens so damn fast. It happens so quick, and that's not the transaction between you and the hammer. It's just not the same communication. And the people that have thrown the weight know that there's a disconnect between the two things. But at the people that are extremely high level, you do see somewhat of a correlation between their weight throw and their hammer throw. Well, I mean, if it's over 60 and those guys we're talking about over 70, well, they throw over 70. But at a certain point, I think that if you want to be a good hammer thrower, then you throw the hammer ultimately, and that's just my opinion. I don't, according to my knowledge of the way that the Russians trained, they didn't throw the weight. That is an American. I believe that the weight is a very, very Americanized event. I don't even know how much they throw it in Europe, to be truth be told. So some very, very interesting thoughts as far as the weight throw. And I think that girls, especially, and I don't want to come off the wrong way, but the girls that, when I mean, if you can do that, if you can throw far with even with the two turn, you can place in a conference, and you can even, in as high as you could place at a championship pretty easily without, and I say without having much technique or knowledge. And the problem is that doesn't necessarily mean, and when we're talking about two turns specifically, that doesn't mean that it translates to a good hammer throw. It just doesn't necessarily do that. So I find that fascinating. They're going to throw the weight regardless. The weight throw is going to be an event in America for time to go. I question whether that makes good hammer throwers. I question that, and I have a good reason to question it, because the good hammer throwers, I don't think that they spend a lot of time throwing the weight. And I could be saying that from an opinionated point of view, but I don't think that the good hammer throwers spend a lot of time. The world class, the elite of the elite, hammer thrower, the ones that are placing in the world, I don't think that they spend a lot of time throwing the hammer. And I'm pretty sure that I'm saying a fact, but it could, there's a slight chance that that's opinionated. I don't have this. I don't have the factual evidence to substantiate that point. I just have hearsay and conversations that I've had with a lot of people and a little bit of knowledge that I've looked at. But I don't actually have the statistics of the people that have thrown the weight well, or the people that throw the weight outside of America that also throw the hammer well. I mean, it's just not. And I think it would kind of be hard to tell because there aren't. I don't think that it's taken as seriously outside of this country. As the hammer and the discus and the shot put is. So the shot put is thrown indoors. I mean, fine. The discus was also thrown indoor. I don't know if it's still thrown indoors, but also thrown indoors. So, hey, kind of one of those things that when I go back and look at my college career or what have you, yeah, I kind of wish, and I think that there was places where you could have thrown indoors, but a few and far in between, right? I don't see a lot. I don't see a lot during that time because it is indoor season technically. So, what can you do? I liveth and I learn. It took about 6 throws a day. Kind of got dark on me. It's looking a lot better. One thing at a time. It's still looking a lot better. Wish I could have gotten more throws in, but body is fatigued. And I'm going to have to make sure that I'm keeping cognizant of the wear and tear, and what is more worn on than other things is what I'm starting to feel right now with this continuous of training. What I'm going to do as far as continuing to try, I want to touch the hammer. I want to touch a hammer every day. That doesn't mean that I'm going to throw my max intensity every day, but I want to touch a hammer every day. And how I go about doing that, I'm very, very curious. I'm not 100% sure. But anyways, that's just about all I got, guys. You already know what the deal is. Run on your toes, keep your mouth closed, lock your doors, and save your throws. And most importantly, you'll live to fight another day. I'm going to get out of here.